second question, Jake, on voting, the For the People's Act. If it is not passed, what is the national security issue with it? Is there a national security issue with it if it's not passed? Because we've heard so much over the past few years about issues of voting. If that is not passed, is it a national security issue?
I would say the basic notion of democratic reform and voting rights in the United States is a national security issue. We are in a competition of models with autocracies, and we are trying to show the world that American democracy and democracy writ large can work, can effectively deliver the will of the people, and to the extent that we are not updating, refurbishing, revamping our own democratic processes and procedures to meet the needs of the modern moment, then we are not going to be as successful in making that case to the rest of the world, to China, to Russia, or to anyone else. And so there is a national security dimension to this today, just as there was through the decades of the Cold War.
Can you talk a little bit, is Congress being briefed on the idea of voting as a national security issue? And if the For the People Act isn't passed, what will that say globally, given the fact that you just laid it out as a national security issue?
So I will say humbly, as the National Security Advisor, I don't tend to get into the middle of the debates up on the Hill on issues like voting rights. All I can say is the bottom line principle, not a specific question about the vehicle or the time frame, but rather the fundamental principle, which is that a strong, vibrant American democracy that protects voting rights is the best way for us to make the case to the world that our model and not some other model is the right model to actually vindicate the will of the people here in the United States, and for other democracies to be able to do the same.
Just a quick follow-up on the voting rights. Did Manchin give the White House a heads up that this op-ed would be coming out? Did you guys have any sense of how firm his position was on this legislation?
I'm just not going to get into any channels of private conversation with Senator Manchin or any other senator.
And then just on the Vice President, obviously, last week the President said that she was going to take a leadership role in voting rights. Democrats have warned that if Washington doesn't take action, that the midterms will be quite difficult given the changing voting laws. Is there going to be a more, are we going to see signs of more urgency from the White House about taking action on voting rights? Obviously, the President has had a lot of lawmakers in the Oval Office to talk about infrastructure. Will we see more signs of an increasing focus on trying to make progress on voting rights?
Absolutely. But I would also note that early on in the presidency, the president signed into law an executive order that put in place a number of positive steps forward on voting rights, an action he could take without Congress. We've also empowered the Department of Justice, of course, to take actions to implement some of these policies. So we're not waiting. I would also note that the fact that he asked his vice president, they agreed, I should say, since it was her ask, but that she would lead this effort moving forward, tells you what a significant priority it is for this White House. As you know, she's currently on a trip to the Northern Triangle. She'll be back, and I'm certain you'll hear more from her soon.